What you're saying happens to not be true. I did not do that. What you're talking about happened before
So
I became the
you
Deputy
support
Attorney General.
the release of Volume 2?
No, I don't, but I'm recused and had nothing to do with that case. Like, you can't accuse me of violating my ethical rules and then lie about what I did.
Mr. Blanche, you represented the president in at least three criminal cases, the hush money payment case in New York, the January 6th case, and the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. You said when you appeared last before this committee, you would consult with ethics lawyers about that apparent conflict of interest in handling any case involving the president, having been his personal counsel. Did you consult with Joseph Terrell, a senior ethics lawyer at the department?
I believe I met with Mr. Terrell, yes.
Did Mr. Terrell tell you that ethics laws and policies required that you not be involved in cases involving your prior representation of the president?
Yes.
So in those three matters, the hush money payment case, January 6th case, Mar-a-Lago case, you were to recuse yourself?
I'm recused, correct. Well, by the way, the cases are not ongoing, Senator, but to the extent there's any work around those cases, yes, I'm recused.
So you said to CPAC a couple months ago, the other things that are happening, there is not a single man or woman at the Department of Justice who had anything to do with those prosecutions, meaning the prosecution of the president. So you're saying that it's not a conflict of interest for you to be involved in the firing of prosecutors who prosecuted your client, your former client? There's no conflict there? Is that
No, there is. I wasn't involved.
So
that would be a
at
conflict.
CPAC, you're taking credit for the firing of these Department of Justice lawyers, but you're not willing to take responsibility before this committee. Is that the case?
No.
Okay.
I'm making, I said, there's a
You
statement I gave
were
at CPAC.
bragging about this at CPAC, the firing of these prosecutors, the firing of the FBI agents, the getting rid of everyone who investigated your client. You were proud of that, speaking for the Department of Justice, but you don't think that's a conflict of interest. You moved to vacate, I don't think you're going to deny involvement in this, you moved to vacate the convictions of 12 Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, which erased their convictions, restored their gun rights. These people were convicted in the January 6th investigation, which also involved the president, who you represented. You were involved in dismissing those cases, were you not?
I'm the acting attorney general, so yes, my department moved to dismiss. I was not involved.
So you didn't recuse yourself from that matter. You were
No,
willing.
there's no reason to, from the Proud Boys matter?
Yes,
I mean,
it was.
lawyer, you know the rules. There are rules that say when I
yes,
have to
there
be
are
recused,
rules,
and that's not one of them.
and there are rules. And when you're told to recuse yourself from investigations that
always
you
do.
handle for the president, you're supposed to recuse yourself.
No, when
So
I represented the president.
you have also said, you've also refused to release Volume 2 of the Special Counsel's report. That was an investigation into the Mar-a-Lago documents case. How is that not an abundant conflict of interest? Refusing to release to the public an investigative report of an investigation into your client.
I am not a judge. A federal judge.
No.
The
The department's position under you, Mr. Blanche, was do not release the report.
So that position,
What
you're saying happens to not be true. I did not do that. What you're talking about happened before I became the Deputy Attorney
support the
General.
release of Volume 2?
No, I don't, but I'm recused and had nothing to do with that case. Like, you can't accuse me of violating my ethical rules and then lie about what I did.
So you had nothing to do with the decision. I'm asking you whether anyone sought your opinion or used your guidance in refusing to release Volume 2.
When
You're
that
saying you had nothing to do with that decision?
litigation was ongoing, I was a private citizen, still representing the President of the United States. It was before March. Since March, to the extent there's been anything in front of that judge,
Mr. Blanche,
I haven't been part of it.
I asked you in your last confirmation hearing whether you would release the report, and your answer was no. Your answer was not, I will recuse myself. Your answer was, no, I will not release the report. That was your testimony last before this committee. You subsequently were advised by ethics lawyers not to be involved in these matters, but it appears you were involved in these matters. Let me ask you about another matter.
I wasn't involved. You can't say it appears I was involved, but I said I wasn't.
Let me ask you about another one you have your name on.
Geez, the truth has to matter at some point.
Yeah, it does matter. We just don't hear much of it from you. But let me ask you about another matter you have your name on. I don't think you can deny responsibility here, and that is the IRS settlement agreement. So you put your name on this. That absolves the president of tax liabilities in the past The president was convicted in the case you represented him in of falsifying business records in part for tax purposes. Does this settlement not absolve the president of any liability for tax crimes associated with what he's already been convicted of?
That's not what he was convicted of. It not having to do with
Well,
tax purposes.
I'm happy to read the statement of facts. The participants took steps that mischaracterized for tax purposes the true nature of the payments made in furtherance of the scheme. So you know,
The
Mr.
participant
Blanche,
there was not the president. It was somebody else.
well, if the president is conspiring with others to falsify business records to help them cheat on taxes, he is also exposed to liability. You know that as well as I do.
He can't be audited for that.
And of course he can be. Of course he can be. And he can be prosecuted for it. But the agreement you signed on behalf of your former client, on behalf of your current client, in a staggering example of self-dealing prohibits that. Let me ask you this. Does this tax agreement, this addendum you signed, also hold him harmless from any audit or tax liability with respect to the billions in crypto money he made in his first year as president?
It's not forward-looking. So to the extent there are taxes filed by the president or his sons or the Trump organization after the date of that agreement, there's no protection.
Well, but before that agreement, so any taxes...
So he hasn't filed taxes yet for money he made last year, right? So
yes.
No.
So if he
So no protection.
if he filed tax returns this year for money he earned last year, that his sons earned, that his World Liberty Financial, all those people earned and defrauded taxpayers on it, he faces no liability under this agreement you signed.
There's no evidence taxpayers were defrauded, and he
But
is not protected.
There's
He is
evidence in
not
this
protected.
agreement that
He's not
you've
protected.
absolved him of any liability over
No,
it.
I just said he's not absolved. So the question
So this
was,
agreement doesn't apply to a tax return filed last year or
tax
filed
returns-
this year?
to tax returns filed after the date of the agreement? No.
Congressional hearings turned tense as Senator Adam Schiff confronted Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche over his record, his previous legal work for President Donald Trump, and questions about the Justice Department's independence. Throughout the exchange, Schiff challenged Blanche on whether his past representation of President Trump could influence his decisions as the nation's second highest law enforcement official. The questioning focused on whether the Department of Justice is operating independently or whether political considerations have become intertwined with prosecutorial decisions. Blanche defended his record, insisting that he has always followed the law and carried out his responsibilities professionally. He rejected suggestions that his legal work for President Trump compromises his ability to serve impartially, arguing that attorneys routinely represent clients without that affecting their future public service. Schiff, however, continued pressing him on several decisions and statements, arguing that public confidence in the Justice Department depends on transparency, accountability,